S.H Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Majin Buu was released domestically here in Japan on the 10th of August and retails for 8,424 yen, or roughly $75 US, but the price varies depending on which online store you guys pick him up from, whether it be domestic or overseas, but I'm sure you guys can find him for a little bit less than $75 US. Looking first at the box, it is a really big box. Here is a comparison with the Super Saiyan God Son Goku, which is your standard size S.H Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Dragon Ball series box, and you can see here it is a fairly large box. Here's the front, the sides, the top, the bottom, and of course the back. Okay, let's go over the details. As far as paint goes, the majority of his body, like most of the recent Dragon Ball series figures, is just colored molded plastic, which for me personally is a good thing. You don't have to worry about paint rub or paint chipping or anything like that. And I am talking about the solid colors. I'm not talking about shading or any washes like that, but the solid colors, yeah, personally for me, I think it's better to have the molded colored plastic. But for areas that are painted, his vest here, let's start with his vest. It's painted a nice solid matte black with some really nice gold trimming there. It's done really nicely, quite clean, and it runs all the way here to the back. His belt is painted black as well, flat black. The buckle in the middle, same gold as used on the lining there on his vest. Unfortunately, on my copy we get a huge chip there right in the middle. I guess I didn't realize when I picked him up. It's not the end of the world, and I'm sure it's pretty easy to fix, and I might do that a little later on, but just something to notice, something to look out for when you guys pick up your copies. His gloves here, they are molded in a yellow, a really nice solid yellow plastic, but his forearms, they are painted pink to match his skin tone, and they've done quite a nice job. I think you can't really tell the difference. The colored plastic and the paint do match up quite nicely. As for shading, we do get quite a bit of shading with Majin Buu. I mean, compared to most of the recent Dragon Ball figures that we've been getting, but you can see here on his cape that he does have a darker shade of purple, which highlights the details on the cape quite nicely. I'm glad they added that in. He does have shading here on his pants, and I know it is kind of hard to see on camera, but you gotta trust me on this. It's not just shadow, there is actually shading on the pants. Again, it really brings out the details, all those creases, all those folds. It's not just on the actual crotch itself, but they've carried it over onto the pants. You can see here on the pants, even the sculpt, the left leg and the right leg, they aren't symmetrical. They are different sculpts. They are sculpted differently, which I think is a nice touch to the figure. And everything is matte. Yes, it's matte, guys. None of this shiny plastic. This figure is completely matte and looks fantastic, so thank you, Figuarts. Majin Buu is a pretty big figure. You can see him here standing next to Majin Vegeta, and I will give you guys a couple more size comparisons at the end of the video. But not just height-wise, there is quite a significant height difference, but there is quite a lot of figure to Buu. I mean, once you pick him up, you can tell that the pants is just one big shell. It's a thick shell. They've used some, nice thick plastic, but nonetheless, it's a shell. The upper torso feels a little bit more hefty, since all of the inner structure is housed in there. But for such a big figure, especially with the shape of his body, that huge torso and crotch, with only those two tiny legs to support all that weight, Buu is actually quite well balanced, and you can get him to stand pretty easily. So let's talk about the cape. Yes, it is your standard hard-shelled plastic cape, a solid piece here on the top, and 3 solid pieces at the bottom. The two sides and the middle, they are on hinges, so you do get a bit of articulation going out. And they do swivel as well. They are plugged in directly to Majin Buu's back. Majin Buu does have 3 ports that you plug them in, so when you get Majin Buu out of the box, the 3 pieces here actually are detached, which makes it really easy for people who don't like that hard shelled plastic cape just to, you know, take it off and, you know, put their own, I guess, third-party cloth cape if that's what you're into. So I think it is really easy to do that. You know, in terms of, you know, hard plastic capes, I do like it actually. When you have all the 3 pieces here lined up like that, it does look like one, you know, solid piece. I do like this wavy design here down at the bottom. It does give the illusion of movement, and as I mentioned before, it is a nicely sculpted cape. I do like all the creases, all the details, especially with the shading, the dark purple shading. It does bring out the details a lot more, and I do like the sculpt here on the front as well. Looks really nice, and I am glad that Figuarts did make this solid piece attach directly to Majin Buu instead of having it loose. It does definitely make it a lot easier and a lot nicer, a lot more fluid in terms of posing the figure, not having a, you know, a top piece here being, you know, just sitting there on his shoulders. So yeah, I think they did a great job with the cape. So for articulation, Majin Buu's head is on a ball joint, which is attached to a separate neck joint, so his head does swivel side to side. He does have a bit of tilt. His head does look up, quite far up actually, so you can get him when he's in a flying pose to look kind of head on, which is a nice touch. And he does look down this much as well. Majin Buu here does have a nice butterfly joint, and it does give him some good motion going in and out. His arms move up more than 90 degrees, 360 there. At his shoulders, upper bicep swivel. He does have double jointed elbows. His hands are on a large ball joint, so you're going to get swivels, but you're also going to get hinges in all directions, which is great. Not too much movement in his torso. You do get some side to side swivel, a bit of ab crunch going forward, some movement going back. But one thing you want to take note of is when you're swiveling Majin Buu side to side, because of his belt, it is painted black, you're probably going to get some paint rub, like I did here. Just something to take note of when you're posing Majin Buu, because he does have that painted black belt. With Buu's legs, Majin Buu does kick. He does have that full splits there, which is nice. He does kick forward 90 degrees, not too much back because he doesn't kick back at all because of the way that the pants here are sculpted. He does have a upper thigh cut. He does have a single jointed knee, which goes 90 degrees. Swivels there at the feet, toe articulation, and little to none ankle pivot, but it does get a bit of an angle right there. So let's take a look at Majin Buu's accessories. He does come with 3 sets of interchangeable hands. His 2-fisted hands that he comes packaged with, these 2 pointing hands. I should call them gloves actually. He comes with 2 candy bar holding gloves, which you can actually have him holding the candy bar or chocolate bar with a single hand or double hands, gloves, whatever you want to call it. And the candy bar does have some painted details as well. The silver here is painted, and the chocolate is painted brown as well. So yeah, nice little touch. I think this is a really fun accessory. He does come with 3 interchangeable heads as well, and these heads are really well done. You get his kind of menacing, maniacal, angry face, really well sculpted. The antenna here for all 3 heads is a softer plastic, so you're not gonna have to worry about it breaking or snapping off. The paws here on the side of his head and his ears, I don't know if they're actually ears, but they are painted brown. And yeah, the face is really well sculpted, I mean printed. And you have those details, the pink details there on his cheek, which is a nice touch as well. You get his other face here, his tongue sticking out, which is a really, I guess, iconic face there for Majin Buu. Nicely done. And of course you get his standard smiling face there as well. Okay, so here is Buu with some other Dragon Ball villains. Just to give you guys an idea of how he sizes up, we've got some figures from the Figuarts line as well as the Figuarts line as well. I don't have the Figuarts Broly, but the Figuarts Broly is almost the same size, so it does give you, you know, an idea of how big it would be compared to the Figuarts Broly, if you do want to know how big Buu stacks up against Broly. At the front down there we have Figuarts Kid Buu. I think he's a little bit big. Kid Buu should be a little smaller, but no, I think, you know, when you have both of those figures together, it does work. It looks quite nice. So yeah, just to give you guys an idea of what all the villains, most of the villains that we have out already look like all together. So I think this version of Buu might not be what everyone wanted or preferred as their first Majin Buu to be released by Figuarts, but I still think it's worth picking up, especially if you enjoyed the Buu story arc. I mean, it's Figuarts giving us another larger character with a fairly unique design, which I think was translated pretty well in figure form. Majin Buu, any form of Majin Buu, I have to admit, is not my favorite villain, but nonetheless it's a pretty solid figure and looks fantastic with your collection. You really get a sense of diversity, which is what I think, you know, Dragon Ball is all about in terms of, you know, their characters. I think he's going to work really well with Hercule, Mr. Sutton, when he comes out, and I think you can have a lot of fun posing those 2 figures together. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome. For my next review, I will be reviewing the new Figuarts standard Dragon Ball Vegito, so do look out for that. If you are new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button to know every time I upload a video to my channel. But yeah, that's it guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys soon for the next one. Bye.